Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Dre Show, everybody. It is Tuesday, July 8th. Thanks for tuning in and staying up to date on all the groundbreaking news where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please like, follow, and share the show with some friends. I always appreciate when you do that. Sorry we missed yesterday's show, but we're back for more today. We've got lots of great content coming your way. I do hope everyone had a nice, safe, and blessed Independence Day weekend. You know, aside from being grateful and, of course, thankful to live in the freest country on earth, not like the street trash that we saw over the weekend in downtown LA, who were protesting and, of course, setting fire to the American flag. Their typical motif, I'd have to say. Or these, Free America demonstrators. They protest the Trump administration. That's all they're there for. To protest Donald Trump in any way possible that they can. So in a day when we're supposed to come together as Americans, they decided to meet and, of course, foment hate. Blocking streets, spraying graffiti on things. And it's all brought to you by these NGOs like the 5051 movement. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of that. But this is who organized these groups. And of course, they all have the same mantra on their signs, America is built by immigrants, go away ICE, protesting everything that makes this country obviously lawful. They don't like the laws. And of course, they don't like these deportations. It sounds to me like they're not really accepting the results of democracy, our last election in 2024. How very odd, isn't it? I had to watch The Patriot this weekend. I had to. It's one of my favorite movies. It's always a great time to watch it during Independence Day weekend. Of course, with Mel Gibson, Heath Ledger. I'm sure many of you have seen it. And, not because it's just a great movie. It's just well done. The acting is great. But there was a quote in the movie, and I wrote this down for everyone. Because, again, I love the film, and it's when the Reverend joins the militia. Heath Ledger goes into this little town, and he says, I'm here to recruit people for the militia. And, the men start standing up. Everyone's, seeing this change in the community, of course. And the Reverend joins them. And one of the townsmen goes, Reverend? And he turns and he goes, a shepherd must tend his flock, and at times fight off the wolves. Meaning it's not enough just to speak out against the British, but to stand up for what you believe in. What are your values? It's not just enough to preach and send someone else in your place. He's putting his money where his mouth is. He believes in freedom. He doesn't want to be ruled by the tyrant King George any more than the men that joined in his congregation. They wanted to be a free nation, free of Britain, where men can choose to live and build their own destiny based on Christian teachings. Now, before the Johnson Amendment took place in the late 1950s, pastors routinely would speak about what was happening in our society. And that's why you saw so much more social cohesion at the time. More people attended Mass, and again, more priests spoke about these things. And again, it was the pastors in their pulpits that preached this independence before the founding even took place. Never forget that. It was their message from the pulpit. It was that example that men should be free. Men and women should be free. Of course, to choose their own destiny. Just don't tell that to the street trash burning the American flag, though. It might raise some IQs there. All right, let's get into the first order of business today. As many of you probably saw, and as I mentioned, there was protests erupting in several of our American cities. Of course, this is all planned in advance. They can't come together for one day and appreciate being an American. There was protest in Portland, Oregon, among other places, again, opposing Donald Trump. And this is one of the more nefarious situations. And, of course, they're protesting ICE. And in this statement, it says here, On Friday, protesters organized a caravan, that's a large group of people, from the ICE facility in South Portland to the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington. So just to keep this in mind, it's about 140 or so miles apart. The latter is the location where 54-year-old Moses Sotelo, a Newberg, Oregon vineyard worker, is being held. The rally in Tacoma was attended by Sotelo's daughter. Now, early on Friday, protests outside of the Portland ICE facility got tense as demonstrators clashed with federal agents. Some protests told the news that they took to the streets on Friday in response to the intensified ICE raids and detentions. And of course, things got out of control. There had to be tear gas deployed, using crowd control munitions to disperse. Antifa reportedly committed an act of arson against the ICE facility in Portland. Now, let's think about this. There's people that they pretend to care about. They don't care about these people. They just care about the narrative. And they're going to try to light this building on fire where there's people held. First of all, there's federal agents inside. And again, there's people that are being detained inside. And yet they're setting fire to this building. Now, you make sense of that. Obviously, it doesn't. It's unbelievable. It really is. And again, hopefully that there are arrests taking place, because why would we want this? Why would we let the Antifa criminal gang element take over our city streets, attacking and committing arson? We saw this years ago when the federal agents were inside one of the courthouses in Portland and they set fire to that. How many people were prosecuted there? Does anybody know? No, we never hear about this. How come these people setting fire, and I believe there were some that were arrested, I think in Texas, among other places. I know there were some in Texas arrested. Your usual suspects. They have the usual Antifa look. Disheveled look on their face, dirty, hair all over the place. Haven't seen a shower in weeks. Caucasian, of course. You're good to do liberal, right? You're good to do leftist. This is what we're seeing now. And again, it wasn't just in Portland. We saw this over the weekend in Los Angeles as well. Shutting down this 6th Street bridge in LA. Fox News reported on Saturday that the protesters clashed with police, of course, again, and members of the United States military. And again, the incidents happening after Trump deployed the National Guardsmen, using Marines, of course, trying to thwart this illegal immigrant sweeps that took place in Los Angeles. Yep. So these protests happen. And by the way, ICE is very prevalent now. It's going to be even more prevalent now that this big, beautiful bill passed. Because, again, they got about $150 billion, if I'm not mistaken. I forget how much is allocated. Don't quote me on that. It's either 150 million or 150 billion. Regardless, they're getting a lot of money in order to fix, it's got to be billion, to finish the border wall. And, of course, get the right number of people that are, again, working for ICE, Border Patrol, securing the border, and, again, continue with these deportations. Now, these people in the streets don't like that. They don't want this. They don't want that at all. They want to see, again, anarchy in the streets. And, again, any reason to protest is a good day to get out and protest these people. Again, that's what you're seeing. Now, Karen Bass, one of the dumber elements, of course, of the society, she actually had to come out and she actually had to, she had to scold the ICE agents in MacArthur Park just over the weekend, saying that they need to leave, they need to get out of here. And I said to myself, I say, okay, these are federal agents, number one. Does she not know about the Supremacy Clause? She was in the United States Congress. She's in the Congress. How does she not know about the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution? That federal law trumps local municipality, visions, sanctuary status, which again is illegal in and of itself. But again, this is what we're seeing from our leaders. They need to go now. Well, and again, MacArthur Park, very known MS-13 gang hangout. So again, you're going to see, especially in the blue cities across the country, a greater presence of ICE now that they're going to be more equipped. And again, you're going to start seeing more arrests and hopefully deportations. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we voted for. So we'll see what happens there. Now, one other point of interest, though, is that over the weekend, it was Friday evening, Donald Trump spoke in Iowa, and he was talking about the deportation of farm workers. Okay, and he was talking about maybe letting them stay. He said this in his speech. And I said, okay, that doesn't match with what he's been telling us. But it's important to understand what might be happening here. And Charlie Kirk said yesterday on his show that he heard from people on the inside that the Republicans feel that this mass deportation is going to hurt them in the midterms. And of course, they're going to start losing support. And a big amnesty bill or mandate is on the line right now. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, we did not vote for amnesty for all, did we? I didn't vote for that. And according to that guy on CNN that loves to run his mouth, most people support these mass deportations and, again, the roundup of illegal aliens in this country. And yes, we can go back to the fact that, of course, there are people that aren't nefarious people that are just here to work, okay? We understand this. They work every day. They don't cause any trouble. But again, as I told you before, we are either a nation of laws or we are not a nation of laws. How can you be a non-nation of laws and say, well, you know what? If you're here for a certain amount of time, it's just okay after a while. Hey, it's okay. You just come in, you're here for a certain amount of time, they'll give you amnesty. Don't worry about it. Just lay low for a while. Does any other nation in the world function like this? I don't think so. Certainly not any nation that wants to survive. So we've got to ask ourselves, what is Trump doing here in this situation? Is he actually thinking about giving mass amnesty to millions of illegal aliens? I didn't vote for that. Did you? Where is the rule of law in this country? Because certainly it would not exist in that capacity. That's all I have to say on that. So we need to keep an eye on that right now, because again, it seems like it is a possibility that that could actually happen. And again, we're allocating billions of dollars more in this big spending bill that was just passed, this big omnibus bill, allocated for the fact of, again, border security and mass deportations, helping ICE have the right resources, the right staffing, the right numbers to go out and, again, find people that don't belong in this country. Again, you don't have a free ticket in this country just because you got here and crossed the border. And what kind of nonsense is that? I don't care if you've been here for 3 hours, 3 days, 3 years, or 30 years. And again, if Trump wants to, again, expedite a system for people that are in good standing, that speak the language, that haven't committed any crimes, to come back in a very quick, expedited process, I'm sure we can do that. That's fine. As long as they come in as citizens. As long as they pay their way. As long as they haven't been mooching off the system. Big difference. Big difference. We'll see what happens. I thought this article was funny too, that this relates to the topic we're talking about. But I guess in Mexico, they have their own version of Antifa now. Going out in this anti-gentrification protest that turned violent in Mexico City again over the weekend. This is just rich, folks. Hilarious. It really is. And of course, this group is blaming American tourism, among other things, as a reason to escalate this violence. So these demonstrators, they targeted these upscale tourist zones. They vandalized shops. Same thing you see here from Antifa and the unruly street trash. Harassing foreign visitors, of course, mainly Americans. And it turned into this big civil unrest type situation. Blaming them for rising rents, housing shortages. There you go. Of course, it always begins peacefully and then turns violent in the evening, right? Very indicative of what happens here in America. It's the same type of group. Spray painting, get out of Mexico on buildings. I mean, they're destroying their own communities. Again, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. But, you know, this is how these groups operate, and we shouldn't be surprised. Do you really think that any of these people in the streets now destroying the city, harassing people that bring wealth into Mexico City really give a damn about Mexico City or the country itself, folks? Do you really think they care? Of course they don't care. If you work towards something, if you build something, if you input towards something, you're not going to go out and destroy it. That doesn't make any sense. But here we are again. We see the breaking glass on storefronts, attacking people. You see the spray paint, as I mentioned before. And again, the same concept is happening here in America, except the situation's reversed. They bring in the illegal aliens mantra. Or they pretend it as the immigrant mantra, though. Oh, all immigrants. Well, hey, people here are not immigrants. That's why they're called illegal aliens. Immigrants are immigrants. They are here legally, hence the term. So it's just interesting to see this taking place again with our friends to the south. It's again, it's indicative. Again, these are all probably very well-funded protests. They go out and turn violence, and of course they create chaos. That's what they want. That's what they like. They like the chaos in the streets. All right, let's move on to the other awful topic that took place over the weekend. This one is a very sad thing to see here, and I was heartbroken to see this, as I'm sure you were as well. Of course, but over the weekend we saw the flash floods that occurred due to the immense rainfall that took place in Kerrville, Texas. And it is said that some 1.8 trillion gallons of water hit this region in central Texas, again causing the Guadalupe River to go from 7 feet to 29 feet, about 45 minutes worth of time. And it caused this mass devastation, resulting, as of right now on Tuesday, of 109 deaths. The last time I checked. 10 girls from Camp Mystic, which was located right next to this river, that just got totally wiped away, are still missing. And some 850 people were rescued from this tragedy thanks to the brave men and women that put their life on the line, these first responders, these rescue teams, that go out in these very hazardous situations, put their lives on the line to save people. So God bless them. I mean, they're the true heroes in this situation. But they've been working diligently. They've pledged that they're going to continue looking. So that's happening right now. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said that the search will continue as miracles happen. Governor Greg Abbott has stated that more storms are projected today. That was yesterday he said this. And it can be life-threatening as well. So they're still continuing to get this rainfall as this horrible natural disaster took place. So, again, there were people that went out. Of course this has to happen. People going on social media and, of course, blaming Donald Trump, saying it was Donald Trump's fault. Blaming Donald Trump for a natural disaster, as if Donald Trump controls the rainfall in these situations. It's a very awful situation. And again, we should all come together in these situations. We should come together on an Independence Day weekend. We should come together when there's a natural disaster like this as one, as a nation who has respect for their fellow man. But that doesn't happen here. We still have the people that go out and say, they deserved it. I mean, some pediatrician in the region said this. I mean, unbelievable. Some people were claiming it was an all-white camp. Therefore, that's why they saw a faster response, even though that was very false. I mean, it's just the idiocy of people. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Now, of course, you're going to hear from the mainstream media as well that Donald Trump cut funding, right? Because of this big, beautiful bill. They've cut funding before this and everything. They're allocating money for other things that's not important. But they're saying that they cut money from the National Weather Service. Again, which they claim delayed these warnings to this region. Now, again, thanks to real news, we've now found out that We've now found out that the team monitoring this, they were overstaffed. That the warnings actually went out at appropriate times when the information came. Again, this happened fast. In a 45-minute span of time, things happen, clearly. And when that river rose from, again, 7 to almost 30 feet. That's almost 2 stories. In that short span of time, I mean, again, things happen quickly. And it happened throughout the night when most people are asleep. So again, it's a difficult thing to gauge. And again, it's a very difficult thing to control. How are you going to control something like that? It's very difficult, as always. But again, they were fully staffed. It wasn't because of staff cuts or spending to these NOAA or the National Weather Service that caused this. And again, our hearts go out to the people afflicted with this. Of course, the people that have lost family members and loved ones. Our heart goes out to you as well. That being said, let's go on to my next thing. I want to talk about this, though, before we go on to this. Because, again, a lot of people say, these things happen. And, again, there are natural disasters that happen. There's no denying that. These things happen. They get worse. They get out of control. There's, loss of property. There's loss of life. People get injured. But I saw this, again, posted over the weekend. I want to share this with you, though. Now, apparently this gentleman, Augustus Dorico, is the CEO of a company called Rainmaker. Funded by Peter Thiel. You all know who he is. CEO of Palantir. Right? The same company that wants to gain information on you and put it in this one database so everyone has access to in the government. Fantastic, right? Just what you need. A total destruction of your Fourth Amendment right. Anyways, this was, again, 2 days before the floods began. And this is what he had to say. Take a listen to this.
My name is Augustus Dorico. I'm the CEO and founder of Rainmaker. We're a cloud seeding company that is enhancing precipitation via advanced radar and also drones for the sake of supplementing water supplies for farms, cities, reservoirs, and wildlife throughout the United States.
So, hearing something like this, right before this incident happens, and again, could they have possibly been the reason for why this storm just took off in such a monumental way? Absolutely. I mean, I can't sit here for sure and say that. I don't live in Texas. I didn't experience it. But there's a lot of geoengineering elements that take place there that we never discuss, it seems like. The geoengineering aspect, these weather modification systems that they put in place. And I saw that, I said to myself, okay, this took place right before this happened. He's obviously admitting to it. It is an actual company. And again, then we have this disaster on our hands. So when are we actually going to hold these people's feet to the fire? What are we actually going to call on them? Did you cause this disaster to get out of hand? We know that they can control these things. They can make matters worse. Look at Fauci with the gain-of-function research. People, there's no way it's a bioweapon. There's no way they would release it. Really? Of course, Fauci deny. This guy's actually coming up front saying, hey, I'm the CEO of Rainmaker. We're trying to gather more, precipitation for farms and this and that. And then all of a sudden we have this disaster on our hands. So it isn't out of the ordinary that this could have been brought in by this company. And I wanted to share that with each and every one of you. Because, again, this does exist, ladies and gentlemen. And, again, if it was caused by them, they need to be held responsible for this also. All right. USA Today has this good article here I want to jump right into right now. As many of you know, Donald Trump yesterday met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Of course, he agreed to more arms being sold to Israel. No shock there. But he also allocated more money for Ukraine. And he says here in this article, he says, we have to. Trump sending more weapons to Ukraine after expressing disappointment with his call with President Putin of Russia. Now, this is ridiculousness. Absolutely, in and of itself, ridiculousness. Ukraine has no way to win this war. None whatsoever. And we keep thinking that, hey, if we just keep throwing some more money, keep throwing more weapons at them, it's just going to stop. Putin will bend his knee if we just send in more billions of dollars worth of weaponry, more aid, We've already spent over $300 billion, by the way, that you all pay for. But he said he was unhappy with Russian President Vladimir Putin and would be sending Ukraine more defensive weapons days after the Pentagon said it would halt some shipments as it conducted a review of U.S. military stockpiles. This is why, again, the defense budget is skyrocketing. Because we're giving all our military stockpiles to who? Ukraine, to Israel, among other nations. It's unbelievable. And we think this is going to stop the war? It's going to continue the war. Anybody can tell you that. If you cut off the line from Zelensky and say, hey, you handle this on your own now. It's your war, even though he's not even the duly elected president right now because he halted elections in his own country. So much for democracy. You would see this war end. He says, we're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons, your defensive weapons primarily. I mean, this is what he was saying to Netanyahu here when he came and met yesterday. Trump spoke with Putin last week and said afterwards that the call did not result in any progress. So again, what is he telling Putin? What is he telling Putin here? Because Putin, again, is advancing on Kiev now. They're hitting him with drone attack strikes. Some civilians are getting killed in the process. What is really happening now? How are they going to stop them now? If they take Kiev, it's only a matter of time before they take Odessa, which is to the south of Kiev, if you know where that is in Ukraine. But all they have to do is ascend south, and now basically the entire country is under Russian control. I mean, are we going to give up all of Ukraine to Russia now? And not just Crimea and the Donbass, among other places that are, again, Russian in origin and, of course, living with many Russian ethnic peoples? I mean, this doesn't make any sense at all. We've had 1.5 million dead Ukrainians as a result of this war. And we're just going to continue on with this. What happened to, I'm going to stop the war in one day, on day one? We all cheered for this because, again, Trump came in as a peace candidate. He came in as the president that was brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine. I cheered for that. I voted for that. I wanted that. Again, we saw him as the peaceful candidate in his first presidency, his first term. We didn't have these all-out wars. We had peace deals breaking out. Now we have the exact opposite. And now his response is just, hey, we're going to send him more. We're going to keep sending more weapons. More weapons. Well, what happens when you send more weapons? You start getting more wars. People start arming up. And again, if Russia continues on, I mean, this war continues on, they're just going to keep taking more and more land. You're not going to broker any deal with them. Again, we're the ones trying to negotiate, yet we're sending weapons to one side. So how do you think Putin's going to respond to that? Again, he said he's disappointed that President Putin hasn't stopped. Well, why would he stop? No one's talking to him. Even the State Department came out and said this. They came out and said, we're not even in talks right now with the Kremlin. So how are you going to broker a peace deal when you have your Secretary of State that's not even talking to anyone in the Kremlin about peace? I ask you. You're not going to get peace. You're going to get more war. And again, this is why the defense budget has shot up to $1 trillion, folks. That's why. $1 trillion. Yep. 510 million and bunker buster bombs alone going to Israel now. Of course, those bunker buster bombs were used to hit the nuclear facilities in Iran. So there we go. More war. More war. That's what it is. No peace in sight. And any of these fronts, by the way. Israel's rearming right now, replenishing their supply right now. You have, again, more weapons going to Ukraine. And again, we were seeing now the Houthis in the Red Sea sinking ships. We're seeing Hamas attack the IDF in Gaza. I mean, it's all out of control. All out of control. Where's the peace progress here? Where's the peace deal? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Now let's get to this one. This one's a good one. This article I think all of you have been hearing about, reading about, being upset about. This was in the Hill yesterday. It says that the Trump DOJ releases video debunking Epstein conspiracy theories. This is really... They dropped this on Sunday evening, right? And it was just dropped as if nothing was really significant about it. And then, of course, the next day it exploded. It says that the Department of Justice released surveillance footage Monday to back up its determination that disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in a New York City prison in 2019. The nearly 11-hour video was filmed outside of Epstein's prison cell during the final hours of his life, while he was awaiting trial on additional federal sex trafficking charges. Okay, so let's pause and talk about that. Right, you all saw the footage, I'm sure. Right, they show the front of this jail cell, right? And that's supposed to be this fantastic evidence that, no one got in there, he did it himself. Apparently you can hang yourself with paper blankets. That's a new one. They'll say anything. But one of the things that's now coming out today in the news, for those of you that are watching, is that on the camera footage that they're showing, I think it's like 11:58, and you see the time going, and all of a sudden when it hits 11:59, it goes directly to 12 a.m. So there's a minute where there's no recording being taken place. And then Pam Bondi comes in today and says, oh, well, that's usually how these cameras operate. Really? So these cameras always operate this way, where at 11:59 to 12 a.m., there is no recording on that cell door. I mean, a lot can happen in a minute. Don't you think that could happen? That someone could get in there in a minute's time? Absolutely. And I think we have to have questions answered on that. But this whole case is just sounding really, really odd now. Before it was, yes, we're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to get to the bottom of this. There'll be arrest made. Now it's, he worked by himself. There's nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. Move along. Move along. Nothing to see here. After a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell. Again, ridiculousness. Absolute ridiculousness. And now they're trying to say that the client list didn't even exist. That they told us about. They literally told us. The client list is on my desk right now. That's what Pam Bondi said in her own words. The list is on my desk. But I'm not going to release it yet. And all of a sudden now, oh, no, I meant the files are on my desk of the case. Really? You just have thousands of files sprawled out over your desk? We were looking at who are these names? Who are these people that would attend these parties on this island or this Manhattan mansion of his that had, again, video footage recording in each and every one of the rooms? He had a safe locked with God knows what in it. Really? He's going to lock himself in video footage in a safe in his house in Manhattan? Again, folks, something tells me something's a little bit odd here. Something tells me that something's a little bit odd here. Something's rotting in Denmark here with this case. I think you could all agree on that. That throughout this entire time, it was just Jeffrey Epstein involved in this illegal, disgraceful activity. That doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make any sense to you? And they're just like, oh, it's over. We've released everything. We've seen everything. You don't need to see anything. We're not going to release any footage. We're not going to give you any names to protect the victims. And I say, okay, you're going to protect the victims, but you're saying that he prostituted hundreds of girls, minors, transported them, apparently, and no one else was involved. Yet all these people are hanging out with him throughout this entire time. Now, it's important to note, too, that he was arrested in 2006. There was this ongoing investigation about him procuring a 14-year-old girl for prostitution and also soliciting for prostitution as well. So just so we're all clear, procuring means that you are doing something on behalf of somebody else. in the legal term. So if it wasn't for him, who is it for? That doesn't make any sense. They're saying there's hundreds of girls involved in this. There's thousands of video footage of this, this disgraceful conduct, this behavior. And yet it's all him? Really? It's just him? No one else is involved, just him and the girlfriend. Him and Ghislaine Maxwell. So she got the women, and he just recorded himself with them? I mean, is this what they want us to believe? Why would you record yourself in an illegal act like that? I mean, I know there's sick people out there, but I mean, this just seems odd. And then he's going to save it so someone can find it? It's very odd, folks. Very, very odd, of course. And again, everyone's doing, cleanup control for this. They're saying, Epstein would be with women who are barely legal. Oh, okay. Well, barely legal still means legal. So, again, why, if he was arrested and there's no evidence that there's this grand conspiracy of this big sex ring involving minors, then why would he kill himself? He'd already been arrested before. His girlfriend's arrested. So, again, it's just a very, very odd situation. I'd have to say, I really do, it doesn't really make any sense to me when I look at this now. We're basically just told, yeah, we released everything. Then what was the whole phase one? We're going to show you these transcripts. There was nothing else. Just, hey, we released it. It's over. We found out everything we said before was true. Nothing new there. He killed himself. That was just him. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's really unbelievable when you think about it. That nobody's going down for this. That none of this information will be ever presented to you, as you were told it was. Never forget, Donald Trump said he was going to release this. He said this. He said, I will release the Epstein files, I'll release the JFK, 9/11, MLK. What have we got? Who's been arrested? Nobody. Nobody at all, folks. Nobody at all. In fact, Trump was asked about this today. And this was his response. He got quite defensive. I have to be honest with you. He got quite defensive about this. Take a listen.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Hey, we released all this information. Come on. Hey, we got Texas. We just passed this big bill. We're talking about the war now that's going to continue on with Ukraine. You're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, we are. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? Then again, if there's nothing there, of course, they're going to say, well, we can't release this. This has explicit imagery on it. We're not going to release this. But then they're going to say, oh, everything's good. We can't release this. We can't release the names. Don't worry about it. It's just Jeffrey Epstein. It's really remarkable. It's really remarkable that, again, you're not being told anything about this. And we're supposed to just agree with it. Hey, okay, yeah, we'll take your word. We'll take your word for it. You're being transparent with us. I mean, it's really predictable when you think about it. This is the way things have been going lately. Again, who's going to be held accountable for this? Who's going to be held accountable? I mean, again, you have, I think it was J.P. Morgan, whom he banked with, said that he did about $1 billion worth of, again, this illegal activity with this money. And they actually sent out money themselves, many hundreds of millions of dollars, to these victims in many cases. And again, nothing to see here. Move on. How come we weren't allowed in the courtroom with Ghislaine Maxwell? We didn't hear anything about that. We weren't allowed in the Diddy case. Nobody knows anything about that. But, you could be in Johnny Depp's whatever the hell that was. day in and day out, showing you everything about that. This case, hush hush. And I'm not saying you need to release people's names and anything like that, but what I'm saying is we should know what happened. We should know the extent of what happened here. But we're never going to. And again, you'll see this fade away. People will forget. And that'll be it. He gets away scot-free, folks. Gets away scot-free. Not a shock, not a shock, not a shock. And again, I'm very disappointed here. Very disappointed here with this. You know, I had really high hopes for Kash Patel being the FBI director. He's been a nice obedient soldier for, I guess, the establishment. That's the only thing I could think of there. But we're not getting anything that we were told we're going to get. So, not a shock. Not a shock. I'm not shocked anymore by any of this. And neither should you. But just know that this enterprise, this criminal cabal, they've got a deep hold on this government. And it's a very sad thing to see. All right, moving on. This in Zero Hedge. It says that tariff time again. Trump sends trade letters ahead of deadline, threatening a 10% tariff on BRICS-aligned nations. Now, for those of you that don't know, because you were reading about the Epstein information that came out Sunday night, over the weekend, BRICS actually met, and they had quite a few provisions that they talked about. Number one was that Indonesia actually joined as a full BRICS member now, so they now have another nation joining there. There was an unanimous concern over the Trump administration's unilateral tariffs, by the way. And of course, we're seeing now the response to that. There was a mass condemnation, of course, of the Iranian strikes, and of course, the condemnation of what is happening right now in Gaza and the atrocities happening there. So, that brings us now to these tariffs. And of course, we're told the Trump administration has brought in $100 billion worth of revenue from these tariffs. And I say to myself, well, who do you think's paying this? You are. You're the one that buys these products from any of these nations. You are, in a sense, funding all that. It's coming out of your pocket. Right? And right now, the tariff is low. 10%. Okay. So that means, if you're paying $1 for something, now it's $1.10. Do you notice that? Not really. Not really. But think of how many billions of transactions are made. That produces quite a bit of money. Yeah? So now as these trade tensions are once again the front and center of investors now in the Trump administration, think about businesses now. Now they don't know, hey, I get my, this product from Russia. I get this product from Brazil. I get this product from China. What's going to happen now to my tariffs? What's going to happen to my company? Am I going to have to pay even more now? What are we doing here? So while the government is taking in money, which, again, should be used to drive down the debt, if anything, we're seeing, again, slightly higher cost of goods. And that makes sense because, as I told you last week, inflation was up, 0.1, 0.2%? So when you have a 10% tariff on several goods from various countries, that's going to kick things up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So again, you're going to start seeing that trickle up a little bit, I would imagine, should they not come to a consensus on this trade deal, of course. But, the whole thing is really kind of ridiculous in and of itself. These tariffs and everything like that, we can throw them on, we can throw them off, we can throw them on, we throw them off. First of all, the tariff has to be a legislative process, as per the Constitution. It is Congress that is in charge of levying the taxes. And of course, it is the president that signs off on that. But we're seeing this in reverse. We're seeing Donald Trump initiate whatever tariff he wants in a negotiation type effort. And we're excluding the Congress. We're excluding Mike Johnson. So again, if he wants the tariffs, that's on him. But we need to go through the Congress. And we're not seeing that now. So that way he can go, 10%, 20%. If we don't know what's going on, or we aren't able to talk about it as if legislation was being proposed, and how that could affect us, what would economists say about this, right? What's going to happen with our economy as a result of this? We have to think ahead here. But we're not getting any of that. We're just getting, all right, 10% here, you have this deadline, On this day, it's going to go up. Wait, I changed my mind. The next month, it's going to go up. We don't know what's going on. And yes, right now the economy seems to be growing. That's good. We like that. I like that. You like that. Stock market is steady. That's good. That's good. But we need to get a grip on this tariff situation. Because again, if we could just throw tariffs on, off, raise them, lower them, I mean, what is going on here? And again, when people see things that are considered uncertain or they can't foresee what's going to happen, you know what, Donald Trump gets up to and says 100% tariff on everything coming from BRICS countries. Well, folks, China is a BRICS country. So that means everything coming out of China is now 100% more? Do you really want to double the price of everything out of China? And you don't think that's going to affect inflation? Well, it absolutely is. But Trump took to Truth Social and said the following. He said, I'm very pleased to announce that the United States tariff letters and or deals with the various countries from around the world will be delivered starting 12 p.m. July 7th. Thank you for your attention on this matter. And of course, Scott Bessent said that Trump will begin sending these letters out, warning that if there is no agreement reached, the tariff will revert to the April 2nd levels, so to take effect on August 1st. So again, if they don't come to a consensus now, they're going to revert back to what he said they were going to be on April 2nd, originally. So again, maybe they know something I don't know. I'm not sure. But again, this is going to certainly affect the market in some way, shape, or form. Again, not in a big way. Not a big way where you're going to notice it right away. But if it keeps up, and they keep rising, then you're going to start to see, again, these prices start to go up. You're not going to notice a 10% inflation hike. You're not going to notice that. But again, if it keeps up, it's going to start getting out of control. So keep an eye on that, folks. That is happening now. And hopefully our economy grows. Again, that's what the big, beautiful bill was supposed to do. It's supposed to grow the economy, not to hinder it. We want it to grow. We want people to invest. And there are countries that are investing a great sum of money in the United States. Let's get the manufacturing back here so we don't have to rely on foreign exports. That's the whole reason for this entire trade deficit, because we don't make our own goods anymore. If we want to start getting back into a strong economic outlook, we need to start manufacturing here. That's my take on it. And you could say what you want, but we should be doing this. We need to start manufacturing here. Start building America back up. Start building back up our cities. Start bringing the factories, the manufacturing, all back here. Again, that's why China, again, outdoes us, not because China's ripping us off, but because they're bringing in so much more exports to the United States. They're exporting so much more than we're importing to China. There's this huge trade imbalance. I think it's like $500 and some odd billion dollars. And we're saying, oh, look, China's ripping us off. They're making $300 billion more than us. Well, because we're buying those goods. And because we're buying those goods, there's a trade imbalance. Of course there is. That's not because someone's ripping us off. You're buying the goods willingly. But, it is what it is. Let's bring the manufacturing back, folks. Let's get these better paying jobs back in the United States. I thought this was an interesting article, too. This is in the Washington Post. Just to review a little bit of health right now. It says U.S. measles cases reaches 33-year high as the outbreak spreads. Ooh, what could this possibly mean? It says that the United States has reached the highest annual measles case tally in 33 years, hitting at 1,277 confirmed cases across 38 states and Washington, D.C. This milestone marks a public health reversal in defeating a highly contagious vaccine preventable. There you go. There's the kicker. Vaccine preventable disease as the anti-vaccine movement gains strength. This is a hit piece on the anti-vax movement. That's what it really is. Now, folks, let me stop and just tell you really quickly, though. it's important to understand that back in the day before there was a measles vaccine or a measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, kids would come down with the measles, of course, and gain lifetime immunity. Same thing with the chicken pox. I had the chicken pox when I was a kid. Now they vaccinate you for that. Now, is it true that someone can die from the measles? Of course it is. You can die from the flu. No one's saying that. But the response to this contagious virus today is seen as this great deadly thing. It really isn't. It almost looks like you have the chicken pox. You have some chicken noodle soup, you rest, you stay hydrated, you beat it, and then you're on your way. Now it's, oh my God, we've got 1,277 cases in a nation of 350 million people. And by the way, who are some of these people? Who are some of these people that are infected? Who are these children that are infected? I'd be wanting to know if there's some of the children that have come illegally across the southern border recently. Could it be them? Well, who knows? They never tell you. But again, this is a push to scare you into being compliant with the vaccine industry. That's what they want. They want you to feel scared. And again, they want you to get these shots, these untested shots, and of course give them to your children. And the MMR shot is, believe me, one of the worst shots, loaded with the most adjuvants in it. So again, don't buy the fear of this. The measles, again, were common. Yeah, the measles, again, you rested, you had, chicken noodle soup, you got the penicillin in that, your immune system got stronger, and of course, you had lifetime immunity. That's the way it worked. Now it's this big, scary, scary thing. And of course, down in the article, consequences of vaccine distrust. So it's a hit piece. It's a hit piece. Misinformation about the safety and effectiveness of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine fueled 1,274 cases recorded in 2019. Wow. Wow, look at that. But notice what's interesting about this. It only tells you about the cases. It doesn't tell you about any deaths. It doesn't say there's 1,274 cases and 500 deaths. It just says there's this number of cases. So again, don't fall for the nonsense. Do your research on these. Do your research on these shots if you're ever thinking about doing them. But know what's inside of them. And demand that you see safety testing on them. But I'll tell you right now, what just came out yesterday was that, again, none of these companies can produce any placebo safety tests that have been involved in them. Which means you have one group taking the shot and the other group is not taking the shot. And they compare the severity of whatever condition or disease they're monitoring or trying to prevent and see if there's any actual change in that. They aren't doing that anymore. They aren't doing any safety testing on these shots. They haven't been since about 1990. And that should worry everybody listening to the show right now. All right, folks, we got a little bit of time left. Let's go over two more articles here. I'll go over quickly with you. This is on Fox News. It says that there's resurfaced video footage showing NYC Mayor hopeful Zohran Mamdani. He's getting some coverage, isn't he? The Democratic Socialist candidate for New York City has come under fire, and the reason why is because he wants to replace private homes with communal living. I mean, he's going to turn New York City into a communist hellhole very, very soon. If this idiocy keeps up, folks. I'm just going to tell you that. Abolish police, abolish prisons, abolish cash bail, city-run grocery stores. I mean, you're living in communist Cuba. You might as well be. No healthcare costs, no private health insurance. Look at this. I mean, it's unbelievable, this guy. I mean, again, he's taking this nonsense, right? That he's being fed at school, more than likely, or by his parents, who knows? Mom's in the Hollywood elite as a director. Dad is a Columbia tenured professor in post-colonization studies or colonial studies, whatever the hell that is. And the reason we have these degrees, these liberal arts degree programs, is just beyond me. But he's being fed a whole lot of nonsense. And again, he's been on saying we need to seize the means of production. That's communism, folks. When they tell you what you can produce and cannot produce, that's a problem. And if you think rent is high now in New York City, it's going to be much higher if this guy gets in office. Let me tell you that much. Oh, by the way, he also was seen a couple years ago giving the middle finger to the Christopher Columbus statue saying, let's take it down. So that's not going to sit well with the Italian population, I don't think, in New York City. Folks, we need to beat this guy. If you're in New York City, this is not going to end well for you. Not going to end well for you at all. But again, this is all our communists are sold to you. He cares so much about you. You know, we don't need to... Again, he might as well go speak at the World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and love it. That's the exact same position he is selling you. And yet some people are eating it right up. Hook, line, and sinker. Disgraceful. Oh, by the way, a woman was attacked in L.A. Just over the weekend. It's awful. Homeless man in L.A. leaves woman 52 with broken nose and concussion. This is getting out of hand. I mean, I'm looking at this picture of this poor woman right now. She's got blood gushing out of her eye, blood gushing out of her nose. Her chin is all scraped up and bleeding. It says here the 52-year-old who says she suffered a concussion, a broken nose, and complications with her eye from this traumatic assault, said that she may have been hit while she was on the ground when she blacked out. Oh my God. Again, there's blood all around her as she's sitting on the street here. And she says, I know that so much is going on right now, but this should not be falling through the cracks. That's what this woman said. If it happens to me, I'm vocal. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. Who else has he attacked? Referring to this homeless guy. Again, he approaches her, starts attacking her. I saw footage recently, too, on social media of a gardener in Brentwood, which is a very, very well-to-do neighborhood in West LA. Very, very wealthy neighborhood. I believe Kamala Harris lives in this area, if I'm not mistaken. Gardener gets attacked by a homeless guy because he's working in the front of the house, and he wakes up the homeless street trash, and the guy comes over and starts hitting him, starts attacking him. And again, this is the end result of, again, letting people just do whatever the hell they want. Living on the streets. Attacking the citizenry. Look at this. It says, just days after she was attacked, the LAPD arrested a homeless man believed to be the attacker when he reportedly was trespassing onto properties in the area. So they let him go. The man had a previous warrant out for his arrest and is currently being held without bail. There you go. Now he's being held without bail. You know, after he almost kills this poor woman. So again, as we see even our more wealthier areas in a situation where it's not safe, things become a problem, folks. If it's not safe to even hang out in Brentwood or West LA or any of these other spots, these well-to-do areas, who's really safe from this? Are you going to walk down the street and get pummeled by some lunatic homeless person on drugs and just attacking you? Or someone you love? It's getting out of control, folks. And we have Gavin Newsom, among many other people, to thank for that. All right, folks, one final little article before we leave today. This is important. I'll probably touch on this again in the near future, but this just published last month. It says Bill Gates Apeel coding. Now, Bill Gates, for some reason, is obsessed with the food supply. And, of course, he's now adding this, that's what it's being sold as, this coating, either organic or, is it organic or is it controversial deception? And again, in this stunning development amongst this food and safety, of organic certification, this Apeel, A-P-E-E-L, coating, again, being backed by Bill Gates, he's putting money into this, has now received approval for use on organic foods. If you ever see a sticker on your foods that says Apeel, do not buy that. Do not buy that. This news has now raised eyebrows primarily among consumers and advocates of organic food standards, as the product in question contains mono and diglycerides. These are like these fats that they put on these substances as emulsifiers. So these substances are explicitly banned by the United States Department of Agriculture for use on organic foods. Now, it can be used on traditional foods. So again, it's supposed to be this plant-derived coating designed to extend the shelf life of fruit. So again, it's like a preservative in many respects. But here's what they don't tell you. If you go look at the ingredient list on this, it lists polyethylene glycol as one of the ingredients, I believe, which is used in petroleum products, or antifreeze rather. But it says 99% are other ingredients, meaning we don't know what the hell's in this. Really? 99% is some other ingredient? They're not going to share with you what it is? So we have no idea what it is. Is it dangerous? Is it cause any diseases? Does it cause cancer? I mean, what is it? You can't clean this off of the product. And again, does this coating that is now put on these vegetables, fruits, you name it, does it hold in any bacteria, microbes, fungus, whatever the hell might be in it, from getting out once it is applied? We don't know. We don't know. And again, you can't wipe this off. Can't clean it off, folks. So again, if you're seeing this on any products, even if it says organic, make sure you check the labels. They have to report it. But if you're seeing this on there, you've got to make sure that you are, again, taking this off. Can't have this on there, folks. That's not good. That they're, again, pushing now to put this on organic produce as well. Your best bet is to use farmers markets, folks. Farmers markets are the best option for you. That way you know your producer. You know what they're putting on there. You know they're not complying with Bill Gates's deception to put God knows what on your fruit that you're using. Folks, thanks for being here today. Please like, share, and follow the show. I appreciate you as always. Keep your house in order. Serve your food, water, anything you need to be self-sufficient. And I will see you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Be good. Stay great. God bless.